now. Here we go now. Here we go now. Here we go now.
Here we are. I feel like I should be on a Peloton right now. Like, excuse me, everyone. I'm going to go hop on a Peloton really quick. But really, we are here with you tonight, the next 2 hours. Myself, Lisa Ann, our amazing producer, Brian Birds, and the one and only that I want to hear a wonderful obituary story from today, my friend Howard Bender. Howard, how the hell are you? You're alive. The obituary wasn't real.
It wasn't my obituary. I wrote an obituary instead of a love letter today on today's Fantasy Alarm Show. I wrote the obituary for the hope of all New York Jets fans out there.
Okay, well, that's reasonable. That you know what? That's incredibly reasonable. Are you feeling in any of your leagues, and this is going to be a great question for our listeners, do you feel you have any teams that could potentially be written in obituary in a couple of weeks?
No, I really don't, because the teams that I do have that are struggling, through these first 4 weeks, I called week 5 release the Kraken, because Jonathan Taylor could be back. He was back at practice today.
You weren't talking about the Seattle Kraken, then the hockey team. Am I correct?
You know what? The mythological creature that the Seattle hockey team has been named after. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. No, I'm digging deep, man, because my teams are going to come out like some ginormous sea creature with tentacles that are just reaching down, grabbing ships, pulling them down, and just because Jonathan Taylor is going to be back, because Saquon Barkley is going to be back, and guess who just got his practice window open for coming off of the IR, Mr. Cooper Kupp. All of these guys are coming back this week. So on my 38 fantasy football teams that I have to do waivers for and everything like that, like there is a strong percentage of them that are just about to blow up.
Well, I feel you. I get you. And last time we spoke, you were just coming off the high of seeing some music, a little gallivanting, and reminding yourself how great it is to get away. And for some reason, I feel like coming into week 5 with 4 teams on bye, with injuries happening, players coming off injured list, Von Miller talking about that too. It's been all work and no play for you, my friend, hasn't it?
It has been. But you know what? Listen, this is the job. This is what I do. I hunker down. I've tried to explain this. I've explained this to my wife. I said, during football season, I'm a turtle. The outside world doesn't matter to me. I'm inside my shell. I'm researching football. I'm watching, video. I'm diving into it. I'm pulling out the plays that everybody is going to need and want for DFS, for season long. People are talking trade all over the place. People are curious about waivers and issues. And, is this going to be the week that Michael Wilson, last week was a 2-touchdown week? Do I put all my money? So for me, this is it. This is what I do. And this is, and I'll say this is what separates the grown-ups from the kids at the fantasy football table. Because how many times do you go and you look at X or Twitter or whatever the hell you want to call it, and some whiny person is like, it's such a grind. The football season is such it's so hard for me to be keeping up with, everything. Listen, I'm all for talking about mental health and everything like that, but you're whining like a bunch of crybabies, and we're only sitting here going into week 5. It's such a hard grind. Get out of the business. Get out of the business if you can't handle the grind, because I'll tell you what, this is a super saturated industry. Everybody's got a podcast. Everybody's got a live stream. I'm a 20-year vet of the fantasy industry, and I stick around because I put in the work that needs to happen for everybody else to succeed. That's why Fantasy Alarm is growing the way it's growing. That's why we see what we see right now for our subscribers who are crushing it in DFS and in betting and in their leagues. It's because I sacrifice my entire social life and my entire world to make it better for them. That's what I do. So for everybody out there on X, like, I can't handle, I need to take a break this week. Everybody's asking me all these start sit quite. Get out. There you go. It's my rant.
I get it. And this is the group. But I'm going to admit to you that last week I was on the complete grind. And then this week I have a friend that's been staying with me. And we've been out gallivanting in New York City. As a matter of fact, we did a double-decker tour bus yesterday that's a tea around town. It's very fancy. All the ladies were dressed up. Everybody's dressed up. You're on this tour bus. There's live entertainment. There's Broadway singers on there singing, taking you around. There was some Prosecco, some cookies, some finger sandwiches.
Was Times Square Elmo with you? Was Times Square Elmo there too?
None of those creatures can come near me. I'm so afraid of bed bugs. Every time I see them, I think of bed bugs. Okay. I do not know. And I even get even madder when they walk down the street and take their heads off because I think you're ruining the fantasy for children. Put your head back on. Be Minnie Mouse the entire walk from your house. Do not take that off on the subway. What are you doing? What are you doing? Okay. And then following that, went to a Broadway show last night at the Shupert Theater. Went to go see Some Like It Hot, and it was amazing. It was amazing. Just doing New York City, when your friends come in, you do things that you should be doing all the time, but you wait because you want to be a tour guide. But then today I'm back to work. Wednesdays are a work day no matter what. Even with a friend here, they know that I'm in this office on Wednesdays. I take a half an hour on the patio. And while I'm working this morning, I get a ping from my trademark attorney who's like, hey, I need you to look at these articles. Something's going on with your name, and it's not somebody that you normally are associated with. Okay, what is it? Do you know the boxer Sergio Martinez?
I mean, not personally. I've heard the name.
Okay, you've heard the name. So back in 2009, Sergio Martinez and I did an event together in New York City, made 2-hour signing like a sporting goods store, whatever. One and only time I ever met him. I gave Brian the caption to the article because there's now 25 of these articles out that says, brutal wildlife. I'm a former world champion boxer who dated a porn legend, and she was crazier than a goat.
What the frickety frag is that? That's garbage.
I need to ask you and anyone in the room, do I not know something about goats? We were the greatest of all time. Now we're crazy as the greatest of all time. Which is it? Is a goat a good thing or a bad thing? I can't. So there's problem number one. So now I know. What am I going to have to do, Howard? I'm going to have to throw some money at this. I'm going to have my lawyer. We're going to have to reach out. So I decided, let me just slide into this guy's DM. If we dated, I'm probably following him, right? Not following him. I sent him a message. I gave Brian our first exchange. I wrote, hello there. My team has noticed some current interviews where I'm part of the discussion. He writes, hi, Lisa. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Said in an interview that you are my great platonic love and that I would have given everything for you to be my girlfriend. Now, am I more offended that I've been called crazier than a goat? Or am I more offended that this guy doesn't remember meeting me? We did the event together in 2009.
That's right. You did the event together, and he's been like sitting there with he like took a picture of you and like blew it up as like a fat head on his wall or something like that.
I'm gonna wrap this up and get right back to the most important things, the conversations, all of you in here. But I'm gonna wrap it up with this. Do you know why this is a problem? And the reason I'm telling you is because when I explained this to Brian before you hopped on, he was kind of shocked at this. The reason this is a problem and that I need to get this scrubbed off the internet is because once X amount of articles land, Do you know where it lands next? My Wikipedia page. And then you know what? I can never take it off because as the person of the Wikipedia page, you're never allowed to edit it. And you can have your people go in and edit it as many times as you want. And it goes back to stuff that is not true about you on your wiki page. And then lazy interviewers who don't read all the stuff you send them before an interview will go to your wiki page and then they'll ask you your first 10 questions will be all stuff that never happened that just landed on your Wikipedia page.
What's this dude's name? Sergio
Martinez.
Martinez. Come on, what's wrong with you, dude? Like what? I don't even understand. I don't know. I don't even know what to say to something.
I took it to TMZ to decode it for me, and they think it's because he did a podcast that was in Spanish, and whoever used AI to possibly transcribe it to English. You know how Google Translate and Translate apps work. Sometimes the words are in the wrong spot, but still, did he say I was a goat or did he say I was crazier than a goat? I have a friend who speaks Spanish that's here right now who is listening to this while we do the show to write notes so that we know what was said in this podcast.
Yeah, I would like to know that. I will say, I mean, crazy as a goat makes no sense. Like, but like, I mean, have we all, we've seen like baby goat yoga, right? Like where like people are doing yoga positions with like a pygmy goat kind of like hanging out on them.
Seen that. We should do that. That should be a show thing.
I would do that.
That would be a fun thing to do. But
there's a place actually near me, like within like 5 minutes of driving there, where I can go hang out with some pygmy goats if I want to.
I also want you to know that it is National Pizza Month. Pizza now gets an entire month, and I believe that everyone out there should be celebrating it. Today is my fast day. One day a week, I fast every day for 24 hours. But
are you serious?
Yep, one day a week.
You're like this little thing. What are you fasting for a day for? You work out like a champ.
It's good for your bloodstream. It's not for diet. It's good for your bloodstream. It's really good at getting. What it does is, after the 18-hour mark of not eating, your body starts to go in and release all of your bad cells. And then your body goes in and finds energy that you've stored instead of it becoming bad cells. So it just completely detoxifies you in 24 hours. Your HGH levels start to kick in at about 20 hours. You start to produce your own insulin again, and it resets your body. It's think about cavemen. They didn't eat for like 3-4 days while they were out hunting. They weren't dying, they weren't, so that's why I do it. But it was okay because I had pizza 2 days in a row.
Wow.
2 days in a row.
Now that I know that it's a National Pizza Month, that I feel good about the fact that maybe I'll kind of cheat. It's been a little while since I've had pizza. It was like my last cheat day.
We're supporting our local pizza shops here. Everybody, we expect you to go out and do the same. We've got a nice room. Jeff Script Daddy also is doing the fasting since I read the book. Eat, Stop, Eat for both of us. And then he took the information that I gathered from the book. I like to be that person. I'm like the cliff notes for things.
Now, when James, are you saying you're not eating at all? Like, are you drinking water? Are you drinking
coffee.
Juice? Oh, water and coffee.
No sugar.
That's it. That's all you're allowed. Nothing else besides that. So, all right. So I can't if I did it, I can't do like a 5-hour energy or a Red Bull at all.
No, but your body will kick in its own energy. You will trust me. Believe me, I love the pizza. Better Boss is in. We've got a trade question before we get to some quick news and notes. And by the way, I will keep you updated next week on what happens with this kid. I will tell you something right now. You don't want to mess with me, Howard. You don't want to let my people find out you're using my name in Google Alerts. Not a good look. It's not good. But I do like that he introduced himself to me. So he is
nice to meet you. Like that's the headline there. The first thing he says is nice to meet you. So, clearly, if Your Honor, he says nice to meet you, but your headline says this. I think we need to make a change.
Yeah, we need to adapt. We will spend time reaching out to people asking why they didn't bet. But important things right here. Trade JT for Kittle and Aaron Jones. This is from our friend Bronson. Okay, that looks like a just no. For me, the Kittle's having a slow start. We know this happens with George Kittle. We know he picks up the pace. We know that he balances out by the end of the year, but it's ugly sometimes, right? And that's a tight end thing. That is just look, I had Cole Kmet on my bench in like 5 leagues last. I don't know why I didn't play him. That's my bad, but I'm not going to chase those points this week. Okay. That was it. And we're good. But I don't like the Aaron Jones side of this. And JT knows that he has to go out there and have a productive season if he wants to continue this conversation as the season wraps up about getting more money and about going somewhere else. He can't be a schlep. I wouldn't want to trade him away.
I don't want to trade him away either. It's kind of funny. Jim Bowden and I actually had this conversation the same way. And I asked him, I said, because, Jonathan Taylor, you can, if you want to be traded, which he does, he wants to be traded, and that's fine. But, what's going to up your value more? Sitting on the sidelines, pissing and moaning, because everybody knows that at this point, you're just pissing and moaning about a new contract, or going out there, balling out on the field, right? Increasing your trade value. And so I asked Jim about this from like the Jim Irsay, Chris Ballard sort of way. And they said, Jim said, they probably brought him into the office and they said, listen, we have 25 days until the trade deadline. We will do everything that we can to trade you, to put you into a better situation, a situation that makes you happy, but we need to get value back for it. We're not just going to, you could sit on the sidelines and we're not going to do anything. And then, you know what? We're not even going to sit and worry about trading you. But if you want us to trade you, go out, play,
perform,
increase your value. That helps us out. It'll help you out. It'll put you in a different situation. And Jim said, he's like, he was like the GM saying to Taylor, we will put you in a situation that makes you happy, but it's also got to make us happy as well. And I think that kind of, to me, puts JT in the backfield. And I'll tell you what, Anthony Richardson, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, bing, bing. That's like the triangle. I'm trying to learn some more basketball, so I know about the triangle offense now. And so is that not the ultimate triangular offense there? You run RPOs with Anthony Richardson and Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor. That's a recipe for success.
So we're advising you now. Again, if we give you advice and you still have a hankering to do your own thing, do it. Do it. Don't resist. If you feel you have a better idea, I like to just give that disclaimer so nobody melts down, right?
Oh, I want y'all to melt down. I do. Because George Kittle is totally overrated. And I'll tell you what, Brock Purdy has a relationship with Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
And Deebo Samuel is not the guy who's suffering. Maybe he's not, getting targeted like he did before. It's George Kittle who's seeing the massive reduction in targets because he's so locked in on Ayuk and then immediately goes to Deebo and passes out to Christian McCaffrey. So I don't like the Kittle move at all.
We got some news and notes here. We've got Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow with that calf said Sunday was the best he felt coming out of the game this entire season. How much juice was the boy on that day?
Yeah, right. I just can't put my trust into him. It's a tough situation. The calf injury nagging. We said it like in the preseason. We were like, put him in a boot for 2 weeks, let him miss week 1, and then let him come back and he'll be better. And they pushed it. It's been a mistake. And now it's crushing my soul because Jamar Chase was my 1-1 this year.
Yeah. That's been painful for everyone. It's not only the nagging discomfort of this injury, it's the little bit of focus that's going on to that injury and the fear of injuring something else by overcompensating, right? Because you're having to play a little bit more scared. And so it's frustrating, but I give him credit for not wanting his team to be 0-3 and putting himself out there. Like I really did. Next up, we've got another quarterback that just popped up. This is Sean Watson thing. Can you please tell me where our mystery time machine is that we could have had more information about this sooner? Once we got the information, didn't everyone make it seem like this has been going on for a minute?
Yeah. I'm really kind of bummed out about the whole Deshaun Watson thing. I was hoping that he was going to turn around, that he was going to play well. And, it just seems like there's something wrong with him mentally. Like, the shoulder. Yes, I totally get that. But this is now, this is more than just, he's got a bum shoulder. He also kind of, mentally not really in it right now. And that's, I'm hoping that he sorts it out through the bye week.
You have to consider that a player that's been playing at the level that Deshaun Watson is for so many years of his life, those couple years off were a lot. And you were dealing with a ton of stuff during that time off. That was probably the first time he wasn't playing football since he was in grade school, right? Since he was
Yeah.
playing Pee Wee. So that rhythm, does someone get that, completely back? Is it the same? We had those moments 2 weeks ago. We saw him connect with Amari Cooper, which was awesome. But yeah, this coming out of nowhere and then him being out. And again, it's the reason why there is no Sunday leaving the house in the morning. There is no Sunday brunch. And you know what? I don't even do a live stream anymore because why should I compete against everybody else's live stream? And I'm worried about my fantasy teams. And luckily, because last year, some last minute people, you couldn't adjust your lineup accordingly. And that definitely hurts. Saquon Barkley practiced on Wednesday. How much do you think fantasy team managers should be expecting out of Saquon this week?
I'm hoping a lot. I mean, listen, I think one of the things, and everybody's hanging out, hanging Daniel Jones out to dry right now. I mean, Monday looked atrocious. It looked as bad as it ever was. And Brian Daboll throwing the tablet at Daniel Jones, Darren Waller open in the end zone, and Daniel Jones throwing a pick six the other way. I mean, it hasn't been great, but like to me, the dynamic of what that offense does. I mean, Saquon Barkley is like 40 to 45% of the offense in the scheme. And so when you take him away, I mean, Matt Breida, Gary Brightwell, neither one of these guys are really anything special. So like Seattle didn't have to, pinch with the safety. Seattle didn't have to worry about the linebackers, doing a power rush because the offensive line was shaky and you had, you could just rush four and scare Daniel Jones out of the pocket. He's got no outlet with Saquon Barkley. He does have it this week. So I kind of feel like it changes the dimension of it. And I think if Saquon Barkley is good to go back at practice again today, like I said, I think that it's wheels up for Saquon. I'll put him right back into my lineup without blinking an eye.
He's undoubtedly Daniel Jones's security blanket. We've seen the difference of the entire scheme when he's not in, and we've seen him miss quite a few games throughout these seasons. But when he comes back, that does sink a lot better. But I do still understand people burying Daniel Jones. And I know it's not easy on you. We talked about Jonathan Taylor being back at practice. Jets head coach Robert Saleh says they would not restrict Breece Hall's workload anymore. This Breece Hall, Dalvin Cook thing is a magical mystery as well. Think about the fact that Aaron Rodgers, who gave up some of his money, to bring in, and now he's not playing. Who do you play here? I mean, Breece Hall looked great week one. He still had that burst. We didn't know they were really restricting him, but we haven't seen much Dalvin Cook either. What do you do in this running back situation, and how much of it do you think relies on really Zach Wilson's play is going to be not just affecting the receivers, but these running backs?
See, I don't put the blame on Zach Wilson. I think we saw some improvement from him in the Chiefs game.
He looked great.
It was some exciting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The problem for the New York Jets is Nathaniel Hackett. That's the issue. Now, it's going to be Breece Hall in the backfield. Dalvin Cook immediately just goes to a complimentary role. This is like Robert Saleh said, we're taking restrictions off of Breece Hall coming, for this week, and he is good to go. He has proven to us that he is ready to shoulder that full workload. And you're going up against Denver, which is a lousy run defense to begin with. So for me, I'm all in on Breece Hall this week. Dalvin Cook goes, falls to the wayside. My problem is, and the obituary that I wrote to the hope of New York Jets fans, to me, that's, if they focus on this being the revenge game for Nathaniel Hackett, then we're screwed. But if Aaron Rodgers, who was at the game this past week, if Aaron Rodgers is traveling with the team and you can put Aaron Rodgers up in the booth or you put him on the sideline with a headset on and he's talking to Zach Wilson, I think that the Jets have a good shot here. You just have to take it. You have to take the decision-making out of Nathaniel Hackett's hands. You do that, and you can win. But unfortunately, maybe if we take a commercial break, I'll bust out the love letter and you can hear it.
We got a couple in here in the chat, Howard. I'm going to get through right here. Script Daddy, this is brilliant. He says Watson is pulling a Zion. Now, you know all about Zion in the NBA. Zion's always a conversation. Is he playing? Is he not playing? Is he injured? He could have been the most amazing. We've never seen it. He's not out there enough. Like, this is true. We've got a trade question. So, with all this Burrow talks, James said, should I trade Higgins now for a Puka or a Tank Dell?
Should I trade Higgins now for a Puka or a Tank Dell? No. No. I mean, listen, I get it. Higgins is banged up. He might miss this week. I mean, if you you've got to pick somebody up off the waiver wire. You please tell me you've got somebody that you can pick up off the waiver wire just to help you through this week if that's what really your concern is, because we don't know. I mean, they opened up the practice window, the 21-day practice window for Cooper Kupp. So we're not sure exactly. I mean, could he be back this week? Is he not going to be back this week? And what happens when he does come back this week? Because what we've seen from Matthew Stafford is how he locks on to one receiver on the regular. We saw it with Cooper Kupp. We saw it with Megatron in Detroit. So he's done that with Puka Nacua. So what happens to Nacua's targets with Cooper Kupp back? That's something that we need to we're still kind of investigating. And so, you're in that situation. Tank Dell, again, you're also talking about a guy who, maybe he's the number 2 target. Maybe he's the number 3 target. We don't really know, we know that Nico Collins is the number 1 guy, but, we've seen a lot of work for Robert Woods. Now, Tank Dell's snap count looks good and his targets have looked fine, but I'm not ready to just give up on T. Higgins. Cause I'll tell you what, when Burrow is back to some semblance of normalcy, and maybe that's in a week or 2 weeks, I don't know, but I would rather, improve the healthy Burrow with a healthy T. Higgins for the second half of my season in the playoffs than to bank on Tank Dell or whether or not Puka Nacua is going to see the targets he needs to see.
I think those are all smart observations. And it's about that situation where, Joe Burrow, when he is 100%, could be throwing up 4 or 5 touchdowns. And if that's the case, then there will be work there for Higgins. And to not jump the gun on this and make a decision before we see what's real with Cooper Kupp, when he's getting in there, how Matthew Stafford will divide the ball or will he not divide the ball. That's going to be pretty easy to figure out in a game or two. But so we're saying for you to hold. We've got another trade question right here from Will. By the way, thank you everybody in the chat. It's so awesome having you all here with us and being able to answer these questions on the fly and to do it verbally, Howard, and not be on Twitter or X or whatever.
I listen, if I could get off of social media, I'd be the happiest guy. I should just do that. I should just go live here from my desk all day
long.
All
day. Yeah. Just have a camera going and look up at it once in a while.
Yeah. I'm doing work. You're just videoing me and I'm just I'm doing the work that I need to do. I'm hanging out and all of a sudden somebody pops in the chat. I say, oh, okay. Yeah. Let me get that question. Just do like a full feed. How about 24 hours of Bender?
Bender Marathon. I'm trying to think of the names. How would we call it?
Bender Brian Burns.
We'd have to find a way to tie in 24 hours Bender and Marathon. I'm going to work out that titling. We're going to get that going. Okay, another one right here from Will. Would you trade Adam Thielen and Isaiah Pacheco for Devonta Smith? I will be receiving Smith. So he'd be giving up Adam Thielen and Isaiah Pacheco and getting Devonta Smith.
I mean, I'm okay doing that if it's a consolidation trade. You're like, okay, I'm going to upgrade at wide receiver, significantly here, but I got to give up Isaiah Pacheco. If you've got a solid running back room, like if Pacheco's like your 4th running back, then yeah, I would definitely make that move. But I mean, if Pacheco's like your second, your RB2, then I'd be concerned.
Yeah, Will, let us know. But that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Pacheco has probably been tucked away on Will's bench and he's realized, okay, I'm not playing him. I can discard him, but make sure you're being mindful of bye weeks because we do have our first run of them this week. One more here before we get to a quick break. Brock Purdy or Daniel Jones this week? What a question.
I mean, you got to figure Daniel Jones has to throw to keep pace with Miami. Brock Purdy against the Dallas Cowboys does not look like a great matchup there, but man, I mean, yeah, I think I would go Daniel Jones here.
And I think definitely hearing that Saquon is off the questionable and is, if Saquon is solid.
Saquon has to play. Yes.
Saquon has to play. That has to be the deal. We appreciate. Oh, he's his fourth running back. So Will responded back with Pacheco being his fourth running back. And, the other day I was doing something, IG Live or something, Howard, and somebody came in and said, is the only way to get you to be quiet is to pin your arms down to your side. Because I
Are
talk
you
with my
are
hands
you are
so
you
much. Oh, the whole time of my life, I'm like, what are you talking about? And I thought about it. And I thought about what would happen if I just locked my arms in. I'm like, yeah, I would get off this live and stop talking. I can't talk
See,
without my
I'm
arms.
like Ricky Bobby, like try to do the interviews, and I just don't know what to do with my hands
Yeah.
here.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that in the show. Yeah, if my arms are in my pockets, I'm probably pretty quiet, but I'm a hand talker. Everybody, we've got those polls out there for Underdog Fantasy, which you're going to want to check out. We're going to check out the votes. We do a higher lower segment right here. And I threw a couple on. Howard threw a couple on. I put Cole Kmet in there, who you heard me bring up earlier because he was my bench MVP last week, because I think a lot of people are going to chase points with Cole Kmet. But go over to my timeline and vote right there at The Real Lisa Ann. And we will be back with you, Lisa Ann and Howard Bender, right here on Lisa Ann Does Fantasy Bettor on the Bettor Network and Fantasy Alarm.
Talk about how just John Carlson has fallen off the face of the earth here, and like nobody's batting an eye, but yet this is a player who can easily top 60 points when healthy. We understand the Capitals are a bad team, but he is on the power play with Alexander Ovechkin. And considering the injuries with Nick Backstrom in his hips and Evgeny Kuznetsov and whatever, like he's still good. And I think people forget that just because he was hurt for so long last year. But this is a player who can produce and just feed Ovi the puck in his office and collect about. Again, he's not going to block a whole bunch of shots, and that's fine. And he's probably not going to shoot the puck a ton just because there's so many good shooters on it. You also add Max Pacioretty to that lineup, and you probably take off some shots. But the Capitals are not going to be a very good team. They're going to be playing a lot of catch-up hockey, and he's going to be on the ice. He's going to be there a lot. The only player who could take something away from him is Rasmus Sandin. Yes, Sandin. He's the only player I think who can really maybe dig in a little bit to his ice time or a little bit into his offensive production. But again, that's a slight risk. If I'm getting Carlson outside of that top 10 of defensemen that we just named, I'm happy. I should have never mentioned it. Everybody can just not listen to what I just said. Just forget it, right? Men in Black.
We'll edit this out in post. We'll get
correct and just leave it as a secret, because that's where I would go.
This wasn't a Max Pacioretty injury where he's messed up his knees and all. Like, he got hit in the face.
Yeah.
Right. That was the injury, and he came back and he still scored points. So, I mean, this is a good
Washington's D-core as of right now. Right, Nick Jensen, Trevor Riemsdyk, Martin Ferravari, Joel Edmondson. Rasmus Sandin. So like there's not many people that are going to be digging into his ice time offensively, right? Correct. They got a lot of guys who are just going to play defense, protect and whatnot. So Carlson could be that guy who's just going to be out there a lot when they are trailing because they need a goal or something, and maybe he bumps to 24-25 minutes a night. Nice sleep well.
Well, if you're not in any of our leagues, make sure you keep an eye on him. If you're in our league, stay away.
He's gone.
Keep in mind too that the Capitals have said that they're, as long as Ovechkin is still playing, they are not gonna like go into rebuild mode, which means they're gonna play these guys like Carlson and Ovechkin, and they're playing them into the ground. It's all set up for him to get a ton of playing time anyway. And at least this year, especially because he missed half a season last year, if they're gonna run him out there in an Erik Karlsson San Jose fashion like last year, this is gonna be the year they do it.
Got a little advice for you right here. Why don't you start yourself a free 7-day trial at Fantasy Alarm? Just a thought out there.
This is the last week for it.
Check it. Last week, people. This is when things are going to get real. So this is when you need this more than ever. You are going to get a free 7-day trial of Fantasy Alarm's All-Pro subscription today. Get DFS content, NFL picks, all for week 5 for free. Go to fantasyalarm.com/1 win, because that is what you're going to do. Lisa Ann and Howard Bender right here with you on Lisa Ann Does Fantasy Bettor. I hope you're following at Fantasy Alarm on social media, as well as at Bettor Network. Here we go. We've got these. You saw the polls. We've got some voters. We've got some actual voters here, Howard. And we're going to talk a little Underdog Fantasy. We'll go back and touch up on those news and notes after this. But Underdog Fantasy offers new contests and chances to win every day. Play Pick'em by choosing higher or lower on 2 to 5 of your favorite player stats. Choose from MLB, which is still happening, NFL, PGA, and more sports. Like, I hear it in my morning sports center. I'm like, that's right. That's still, and it's getting serious. I actually listened to an interview with Rob Manfred today and Doggy. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, what are you doing? But I couldn't not listen, because Doggies must listen radio. Just pair football pick'ems, Lions quarterback Jared Goff. I think we got this one. Was this week? This was last week. All right. And $100,000 Sundays are back this weekend. Underdog Fantasy is giving away $10,000 to 10 lucky winners who use the specific players that you're going to find on their site. Go to Underdog Fantasy, fantasyalarm.com/. This one's really messy in here. You see the players that are on it for last week, right?
I love the reads. I always love
I'm doing my best. Go to fantasyalarm.com.
I'm like Ron Burgundy, right? I'm Ron Burgundy.
No, I'm Ron Burgundy. But it did have, I realized, because I was like living in last week, because it was last week's game, because I put them in my phone. And then when I'm at the game with my friends who I'm teaching football to, and last week was the Lions, and it said Detroit Lions. And I realized that because halfway through the game, my girlfriend Joanna, who has now watched 2 NFL games in their entirety for the first time in her adult life, thought the Dallas Cowboys were playing. And I had to explain to her that we have a star that everyone respects, not a lion.
Oh, the star. So gross. So
let's talk
Justin
about it.
Fields is the gimme this week. It's Justin Fields over half a total yard. Last week was Jared Goff. This week it's Justin Fields. And so, yeah, if you want to just throw that in there as like it's a booster is what it is. So you do your pick'ems. You pick anywhere from 2 to 4. You could do 2 to 5, but if you're going to do 5, then you might as well just go with 4 and then use the Justin Fields ones there. So I got some thoughts about these. I got some thoughts. What about you?
Well, I'm going to give you the voters' thoughts. We're going to hear your thoughts. We're going to hear some thoughts of those that are here with us live right now in the chat. I put this one up. Justin Fields, 46.5 rushing yards. Higher is 61.3%. Lower is 38.7%. We had a total of 142 voters. And I'll tell you what, I had to play Justin Fields in quite a few leagues where I had Deshaun Watson, and it was not a bad last-minute swap. No. It wasn't as miserable as I thought it would be. It was actually a great showing.
You were nervous, though.
I was very nervous. Are you kidding? Well, the matchup was right, though, but I was still nervous.
Yeah. No, I get you. Very rightfully so. He's just not a guy that you were even remotely ready to invest in. I was explaining this to the DFS crowd out there as far as like Justin Fields, people who won with Justin Fields. It was just, it was happenstance. This wasn't, it wasn't like the smart play. You were just taking a shot because you believe in Justin Fields' talent. So yeah, we got it up here on the screen right there. I love this one here. Rushing yards for Justin Fields, 46.5. What did the public said higher? Because I say higher on this one.
Public said higher. Now, this is a matchup. I cannot believe that we are being forced to watch the Bears on a standalone game. I think that's really cruel and unusual punishment. Like that Toy Story thing wasn't enough. Give me another option, people. Let me watch it.
Wait a minute. All right. Why the hate on the Toy Story? I want to know.
Okay, I've seen it on ice. I've seen it on a Broadway show. I've seen every movie. I love it, but I don't need it mixed with my football. I just wanted to get up.
It's not for you. Like, that's why it wasn't on the main broadcast. It's for the children. It's for the Swifties out there.
And no, the Swifties were playing Taylor Swift that morning while they were doing chores. You are right. The public did say 61% of the public is with you that tomorrow night's game, Justin Fields going against the Commanders will be rushing for more than 46.5 yards. You say higher as well.
I am strong like bull. Yes. Chase Young's going to be chasing him out of the pocket the entire time. So, yeah, give me that.
Shout out to Cole Kmet for putting 26.7 fantasy points on my bench last week. I appreciate you so much. Really. And so I put this on here. I put this one on here to kind of, maybe get a feels. Maybe if Howard feels good, that it could be week 2 for Cole Kmet. I do play him, but I'm always one to not chase points. And I'm always one that the week after a big performance, after really nothing before that, I'm afraid to put him in my lineup. And so is our public. 142 votes. Higher on Cole Kmet getting 100. I'm sorry. Cole Kmet getting 31.5 receiving yards. Higher is 50.7 and lower is 49.3.
I'm going to side with the minority here, and I'm going to say Cole Kmet goes lower than 31.5 receiving yards. Washington Commanders rank 4th in DVOA against the tight end. They're allowing an average of just 24.2 receiving yards to the position. So Cole Kmet, 31.5 receiving yards, lower.
Okay, we've got another one here. We've got the hot hand of David Montgomery right here.
Sizzle, 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 sizzle,
sizzle. This one right here you can find, and don't forget to follow at Underdog Fantasy on social media, Instagram, Twitter, everything's the same. We had 134 votes for David Montgomery to go over 67.5 rushing yards. 73.9% of our people think, yes, David Montgomery will rush for more than 67.5 yards, whereas 26.1 say lower. And, in the draft rooms, you saw it all season, Howard. David Montgomery was such a value. If you look now at where you got David Montgomery, because Jahmyr Gibbs was going earlier, does he go for more than this again and let everyone down who didn't believe in him?
I do believe that he does. I think that we go higher than 67.5 rushing yards for David Montgomery. Listen, Houston Texans might rank 16th in DVOA against the run. They're giving up 116.5 rushing yards per game right now. They've also allowed 7 rushing touchdowns. So you can run on Houston. Their secondary has actually been the strength of their defense right now. So, for me, I'm like down on Jared Goff. I am up on David Montgomery, and I have him in a ton of places because, like you said, such a great value where he was falling in drafts. So David Montgomery, 67.5 rushing yards, higher.
Now, this one is very personal and dear to my heart because this man will be taking on my team. So we've got Brock Purdy here. This is again at Underdog Fantasy. Will Brock Purdy pass for more than 237.5 yards against that stout Dallas Cowboys defense? That game last weekend made me so happy, Howard. That was such a great showing for my Dallas Cowboys. I know you heard about it all day with Jim Monday, Tuesday, and now Wednesday, but we lost some voters. We're down to 137. We had 138 on last poll. I don't know the attention span of everybody. Come on. Higher for Brock Purdy to go over 237.5 yards is 52.6%. Lower, 47.4. So I think we've got some smart people here looking at this matchup. I think we've got some people looking at Brock Purdy's numbers and saying, well, he's put these up game after game. This is what he does. But does he do this up against the Dallas Cowboys defense?
It's a tough defense. What's the situation with Micah Parsons right now? I know that he's banged up. Is Micah Parsons going to be good to go for this game?
That is a great question. I'm going to look it up for us right now and see if we have any updated information.
In the meantime, while you look for that, I will say that Brock Purdy has gone higher than 237.5 in each of his last 2 games. And it really comes down to, does Brock Purdy need to throw heavily in this game? Will Dallas, kind of have it? So the problem that I have, and this was kind of a thing with Dallas in general, last week, it was a great game overall for Dallas, but you take away those 2 defensive touchdowns and you kind of had a sputtering offense there for the Cowboys.
Agreed.
So,
our defense is playing the game for this team.
So is this going to be like that kind of a shootout that Purdy's going to need to go and throw the ball a tremendous amount? Week 1, he didn't have to that much, only 220 yards against Pittsburgh. Week 2 against the Rams, only 206. I think, I genuinely think that the better the opponent, the more conservative Kyle Shanahan gets with Brock Purdy. So I'm going to say lower than 237.5 passing yards.
I'm going to agree with you on that one. And here's the update from 2 days ago. It says that Micah Parsons' knee is expected to be good to go for Dallas against the 49ers on Sunday. So 2 days ago, that makes me feel even better about this. But I agree. We don't have Dak. It's not a high-flying offense. We're not putting up a ton of points. We're not putting up a ton of yards. We're getting the job done. But I do think the defense is leading this team, which is so concerning because we have so many great pieces. CeeDee Lamb finally gets in the end zone. We have so much strong offense, but we're leaning on the defense, which scares me because if there are 1 or 2 injuries, then what are we? Right? If we're not able to get up offense-wise, what are we going to do?
And Lamb only got that touchdown right after Christian Gonzalez went out of the game. Like as soon as Christian Gonzalez was out, they immediately went after that spot, that corner. CeeDee catches that touchdown. But beyond that one initial moment, there really wasn't a whole lot to love about that offense. So I think it just stays a little bit more close-knit. I think this is a very strong defensive battle for these two teams. So, yeah, I think Brock Purdy will be a little bit more conservative. So lower on that. Yeah.
Lower on that one. Everyone's going, oh, wow. Jeff is going over on Purdy. Now, mind you, I know the mind of people. Jeff also asked the question, Purdy or Daniel Jones. So right now what he's doing is he's trying to manifest the outcome he wants, right? If he believes that Purdy's going to put up more and go higher on Underdog Fantasy, then maybe he plays Purdy over Daniel Jones. I see what he's doing here.
I see what he's doing here too.
Let's talk about Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek.
All right. It is great if you have Tyreek Hill on your fantasy football team. It is great, right? We're looking at Tyreek Hill for this week. Higher or lower than 92.5 receiving yards. And this is how much love Tyreek Hill gets with our 117 voters. Higher, 66.7%. Lower, 33.3%.
I feel like you're shooting yourself in the foot every week by going lower on Tyreek Hill's numbers. I mean, he's amazing. The Giants ranked 24th in DVOA against the opposing number 1 wide receiver, giving up almost 75 receiving yards. And that's just to your average wide receiver 1 that the Giants have faced right now. So now you're taking Tyreek Hill and all of that speed. I mean, yeah, I got to go higher here for Tyreek.
I like it. Do you have any players that you stayed away from this year, Howard, that you regret?
Do I have any players who I've stayed away from?
I will tell you, Mike Evans is one of mine.
Yeah. I mean, Evans,
I also
definitely. I avoided him.
You went Godwin more than Evans. I went Godwin more than Evans. I also went Mike Williams, and I didn't go any Keenan Allen.
Oh, okay. I did both of those guys. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Is there somebody who I really regret? I guess I have to go back to. I have to look at a draft board of mine. I'm just going to go back to any draft board. Oh, look at this. This was the FSGA baseball league that I won. Let me go to a football league.
Listen, winning a baseball,
I just had to drop that.
winning a fantasy baseball league is so next level. And it's a great example of dedication because it's a long season. It's a lot of work. And you're in a league that you just won against people who are also very smart in fantasy baseball. And you can't sleep. There's not 1 week you can't hit the waiver wire. There's not 1 day you can't check your lineup. I'm just not that dedicated. I will admit it.
Yeah.
I admire it.
Well,
I admire your tenacity.
I thank you for that.
You also love baseball. So I think it's for me, NBA, we're going to set up a league. We're going to set up a lister league. We're starting to gather names. Some of you want to be in it. You can shout out tonight. I'll write your screen name down and I'll find you on social media. I'll hunt you down. I will find you and I will invite you into this. It'll be a free league. We'll do 12 teams. But I like NBA enough that when I wake up in the morning, I turn on ESPN during the season. That is kind of the first thing I look at is my fantasy basketball league. I get the whole NBA schedule. I get the slate in front of me of okay, what game will I probably watch tonight? And then I also get that trigger where it's like, what injuries do I need to be watching? And so through the day, the little news updates drop. You're like, okay. It's like inventory.
It is like inventory. I like that. It's a good analogy. All right. I did find a name. You know what? Brian Robinson.
Okay.
Brian Robinson Jr., running back for the Washington Commanders. I thought that Eric Bieniemy going to Washington, I thought that would increase the workload for Antonio Gibson as the pass catching back, because we know that that's what the Kansas City offense does. Andy Reid, what he can do for a pass catching running back, especially somebody who's got like full skills on there also, I thought would be bigger. And so I don't have any, I know not any, but I very minimal Brian Robinson. I wish I was a little bit more overweight on him.
And you're living in regret.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. Every time I see him get into the end zone, every time I see him, kind of catching a pass that, he was never supposed to do. Yeah, it grinds my gears a little bit. Also because when we first had our discussion on Fantasy Alarm, Jim Bowden was all in on Brian Robinson and I was all in on Antonio Gibson. So obviously being wrong in the
yeah.
with Jim also kind of, that grinds my gears a little bit.
Yeah, I get that completely. We're going to touch on these news. You had mentioned Christian Gonzalez. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reports that Patriots CB Christian Gonzalez is out for this season. And that was over that CeeDee Lamb play.
It's a big bummer there for the New England Patriots. Now the question is they just traded for J.C. Jackson also, who started with the Patriots and then he had a successful career with them. And then went and took all the money with the Chargers, and he sucked. He's been terrible for the Chargers. So the Patriots bring him back. Now the question is that an area to target against the New England Patriots? We always talk about, Bill Belichick schemes against their, the number one offensive threat. If that number one offensive threat is a wide receiver, what's he scheming against? He doesn't have Christian Gonzalez. J.C. Jackson has been a massive disappointment. So I think that might be a little point where you look at New England every week and say, well, who's the number one wide receiver playing against them? I might want to invest in that. Oh, hello, Chris Olave.
Well, maybe in 2-3 weeks, the conversation will flip. Maybe this is the home where he thrives. Maybe there's something in New England that works better for him, whether it's the facility, the coaching, the whatever it may be. You never know. He could go there to thrive. I'm just trying to, I'm always, I like to be positive.
Yeah, you're so positive all the time. Be negative with me. I'm a Jets fan, Lisa Ann. I got to crap on the Patriots every chance I get.
And insider Jordan Schultz reports the Panthers want to trade for a number one caliber wide receiver before the NFL's deadline. It's interesting because who could be on the move?
That's a great question. Who could be on the move? You know what? I like that question here. Let's see. What teams are super struggling right now that could be on the move? I mean, ironic that they turn around. They're like, yeah, we just traded DJ Moore. So
right.
We could get Bryce Young. And now we got to get Bryce Young, a number one wide receiver.
Common sense.
Let's see. Who's
and you also have to think about who it would be that would want to go into that situation and would work well in that situation. I mean, honestly, I'd like to see D-Hop kind of anywhere, but I don't really know if I want to see him in Carolina.
What about Amari Cooper with Cleveland if things don't work for them?
Would that mean Elijah Moore would be getting more work for all of us who have been waiting on him?
If you would like for that to be, I grant that to you.
This is what I would like. We've got Ghost in the room who has a question. And Ghost, I already wrote 2 names down for the Lisa Ann Does Fantasy Bettor Fantasy Basketball League. We will plot this out in the next couple of weeks when we're going to have the draft, because we know season tips off October 5th. And we'll have this.
5th. Geez, we got a draft today.
I'm sorry, not October 5th. This is preseason. What am I talking?
Oh, you got me all twisted up here, Lisa Ann.
So I will, on break, I'll sort this. So here's the question. I have Jordan Love. Should I stay put or trade for the owner that for Tua that needs running backs? I have Jacobs, Stevenson, Walker, Mostert, and Achon.
Oh, okay. All right. So you keep both Miami running backs. You keep Kenneth Walker for sure. Who's the first name that you threw out there? Oh, here we go. Jacobs. Yeah, I would. You know what? I would try and offer Ramondre Stevenson for Tua. I mean, I'm assuming this is just a 1 QB league. If this is just a 1 QB league, yeah, I would offer Stevenson for Tua.
Okay, that was preseason basketball, so you're not panicked. We have not missed anything yet because you're right. I don't know where I didn't know it was October. I said October 5th to you like it was no big deal. It's October 4th right now. Like I acted like that didn't matter. Yeah, preseason.
I was a
We
little
will.
nervous. I was a
We
little
have
scared.
we have time. Okay, we have time, and I will make sure that when the time is right, we're going to set this thing up. We're going to have a great season with it. But yeah, it's a one quarterback. He said, "Okay, thank you, Better Boss. Look at the assist. That's just like him. I'm at the key. Better Boss sees me over here. I'm wide open. The other guy just did it. I just tripped him. I'm open. What does Better Boss does? He throws it to me so I can get it up there and lob it in because the NBA starts on October 24th.
There you go. A little pick and roll there. Lisa Ann takes it to the hoop. Beautiful.
Okay, fantastic. So October 24th. So we have time, but we'll do it mid-October. Give everybody time to prep. We'll do it. I'm very much looking forward to this. So back to you, Howard.
Back to me.
Did you draft any shares of Alvin Kamara?
I've got him in 2 spots. Yeah. I mean, I got him. I mean, you just wait until they were early drafts. So, people were still freaking out about, the suspension. So I was getting them in like the 7th and 8th round. And, which is why it was kind of funny. Early drafts, I was getting Kamara in the 7th and 8th round. Late drafts, I was getting Jonathan Taylor in the 7th and 8th round because everybody was kind of freaking out. So,
Sure.
Like it was, again, release the Kraken. It all started last week with Alvin Kamara. What do you have, 13 catches? 13 catches last week? Yeah.
Do you know when you give people advice on Sunday morning and they ask you it for advice and then you give it to them and then they come back to you with a multiple amount of tweets on why your advice is probably not what they're going with? I had 2 on Sunday that were interesting. One was Justin Fields, and I was like, okay, like if you don't want to play him, don't play him. But this is going to be, and the other was Alvin Kamara, and this tweeter, Xer, whatever you want to call him, was like, well, he could be rusty, this and that. I'm thinking like this was a different thing. It was a 3-game suspension. I don't think he's been sitting around eating bonbons, and he's a playmaker, and he's going to go in there, and it was the perfect situation. You've got a wobbly quarterback. You're going back and forth. We got Derek Carr. We got James Winston. None of that matters. And he had a great first game out, showing us that he's going to be able to possibly, if he keeps up this pace, balance out his stats from last season, even missing 3 games.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think, again, I mean, when it comes to people asking you on Twitter, it's like, listen, you asked, I answered. I'm not asking for
debate. They want a debate then, Howard. A debate.
I'm not here seeking out a debate. I do this for a living. You do this for a living, right? This is what we do. So if you're asking an opinion, you telling me that you think I'm wrong because of X, Y, and Z, okay, that's great. If you don't think that I already thought about X, Y, and Z, then why are you even asking me the question? Like,
I will say halfway through the day, I did get a response back from one of those tweeters that said, I should have listened to you.
Oh, I never get those. Where the hell are those tweets?
I should have okay, as long as because, I wasn't good at receipts. I got receipts here on the Twitter sphere, but everybody out there, make sure you go over to Fantasy Alarm because this is, my friends, your very last week to get your free trial. Yeah. And now's the time to get really serious because some interesting things are going to happen in the NFL. We're going to have bye weeks. We're going to have bye again. We're going to have players coming off injury. Will they be good? Well, we don't know. And you need all the news and updates possible. And do you have the time? Probably not. You probably have responsibilities, a job, laundry, kids to pick up. All you got to do is go to one place. It's all at fantasyalarm.com/win. Howard and I are going to be back, and we're going to talk about the DFS watch list. So while we're at break, this is the perfect time to go over to my timeline and to click on that link and secure your team in this week's DFS challenge. Howard and I will talk about how well or how not well we did last week. We'll get to that. And we also want to fill up this challenge by the end of the show. So everybody gets in it. It's a free challenge on DraftKings, 200 players. You get bragging rights. I mean, Matty Deutsch has had quite a few weeks with bragging rights, being close to top 10 once, second. We'll get to you, your scores, my scores, and that we get brag. You're listening to Lisa Ann, Howard Bender, right here on Lisa Ann Does Fantasy Bettor on the Better Sports Network, as well as Fantasy.
The Bears have to be one of the most inept franchises of any sport I've ever seen in my entire life. And they share the city with the White Sox, who are also inept. Like, that is how bad the Bears are. I just don't understand how you can go your entire existence and the quarterback that wins you a Super Bowl is Jim McMahon. You couldn't find anybody else.
They don't have a good history with quarterbacks, and they let him be the quarterback for a long time too.
Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes right there. And you drafted Mitch Trubisky. They were right there. I there's a lot of pain in being a Falcons fan. The Bears are one of the teams I could argue they might have it worse, and they have a Super Bowl.
And
when the best quarterback in the past 50 years is Jay Cutler, you have a problem.
That's so funny that you just said that. We were talking about Jay Cutler the other day, me and my friend, and I was like, yeah, he was on, because we were watching the Colorado Rockies game against the Giants, and it looked like he was behind the thing. I was, yeah, well, he played for Denver most of his career. We looked it up. Chicago let him be their starting quarterback way too long.
Here's the thing too, is that Jay Cutler wasn't bad. Like, he was erratic. He wasn't terrible, though.
The poor man's Brett Favre.
I'm taking him over Justin Fields. I'm sorry.
I would.
But Jay Cutler led that team to an NFC title game.
Yeah.
That they lost to Green Bay. But he's gotten farther than anybody else. You want to know who the other starting quarterback was for the Bears in the other Super Bowl appearance they made? It was Rex Grossman. What are we doing out here? It was Rex Grossman, and Kyle Orton was the backup. How are you that bad? Bro, like, oh my God. Listen to the top 5. According to Football Reference, the top 5 greatest Bears quarterbacks of all time. Jay Cutler, number 1.
I can't believe it.
Sid Luckman, who last played in 1950, is number 2. Jim Harbaugh is number 3. Jim McMahon, the Super Bowl winner, is number 4, and he played there for 6 years. And Mitch Trubisky, is number 5 on the list as terms of passing yards go.
We're back right here. Lisa Ann Does Fantasy Bettor with Lisa Ann and Howard Bender. You know what that music is? That music is the late night dive bar that I love in Times Square. It's called The Fiddler. It is disgustingly dirty in there, and I have never had anything but a great time. And it just so happened I landed in there last Friday night.
Where's my bourbon?
My bourbon's right here.
It's one of those spots that's like, it's a dive, Howard. They play really random, almost like you're at a wedding or a cruise ship. And like, if you stay for a couple of hours, you watch crowds come in, have like one drink and leave. But I've never seen a fight in there. There's never been any drama. You can throw all your coats and umbrella on a table and nobody touches them. It's like a college dorm party, but I've never used the bathroom there ever in the 15 years I've been going there. Once I have to go to the bathroom, I go home.
Probably a very wise move, Lisa Ann. Probably a very wise move.
I am obviously more selective about where I use the ladies' room as I am how I do it, who I play in DFS. So let's talk about that. How did you do last week, Howard Bender?
All right. So, in our DFS contest,
contest,
you know what? I'm going to go and I'm going to see if I can find the history there. I probably did not do well because I had Javonte Williams in like all of my lineups, and He got hurt. Listen, I tried to match you with mood lighting here. I lit a candle, but I just didn't have it in me to light my Trey Anastasio prayer candle that I saved. Like, I was thinking about lighting that for Javonte Williams, but instead I just went with like the ambiance candle to match your mood lighting here.
Well, I'm going to tell you two things I did in my lineup. Now, I ended up not in first place, so we will read the first place lineup because that is one of the things. You get bragging rights here. We've had some monster lineups put together by our listeners. But I took your advice on playing Russell Wilson. If you remember, you talked about the fact that the price is right. He was 5,800. He was only 8% owned. So that gives you that variance you want, but the rest of your team can't suck. That's kind of the problem. He did give me a flame. Now, I'm going to screen grab this because this might be the only flame we see from Russell Wilson for the season, but it was a flame. My other flame was the Seattle defense up against the New York Giants, giving me 30 points.
That's nice. That's a spicy meatball. Absolutely. The Seattle defense was definitely the way to go there. It's not pulling it up. I can't figure out what my lineup was, but I will just say that, I also I invested in George Kittle. So Javonte with a crap game because of the injury, George Kittle with a garbage game as well. I mean, I had lineups with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs locked in there, but when you end up, if you don't have like a guy like McCaffrey, right, who goes off, if you don't have the guy who just completely pops off, then you can forget about cashing.
How about if you have 3 or 4 guys that completely pop off, like our friend Chew22 did? Total points in first place was 210.7.
Nice.
He went with Justin Fields, 32.9 points. Justin Fields was only 4% owned. He went with Christian McCaffrey, putting up 51.7. He did the same as you with Javonte Williams. There was an injury, only 3.9. DJ Moore, 30.1. Nico Collins, 38.8. Joan Dotson, 12.7. Ferguson, tight end from the Cowboys. That was a great play, 14.7. Kenneth Walker, the third, for 13.9. The Texans defense for 12. Ferguson was only $3,500, and he was only 4% owned. Like, that was the play to me that really twisted up that lineup nice and made him able to put in, Christian McCaffrey. That was a great lineup.
That is a great lineup. It really is. I mean, listen, there are a ton of plays that I was on. If you go to the DFS watch list over at fantasyalarm.com, I put in what the optimal lineup would have been from our playbook, and some very similar plays there for sure.
Well, we know that you got the watch list up right now. Everyone out there, fantasyalarm.com, you can still get your 7-day free trial. Who you got for the chalk this week so I don't play them, Howard Bender?
Well, I mean, you know what? It's not bad with certain chalk. All right. So my early blush of this week is paying up for quarterback. I think that's going to be a very popular move for a lot of people. A lot of Jalen Hurts, a lot of Patrick Mahomes going up against Minnesota. You'll get some Kirk Cousins there also. So I think you're paying up there at running back. I think you're paying up for Bijan Robinson, and I think the chalk for running backs is going to be David Montgomery against Carolina. Mm-hmm. And you're going to get everybody in on Devon Achane going up against the Giants. So I think that's where you're going to that's your chalk there, and it's going to be kind of pricey chalk, which means that where you're going to look for your wide receivers. See, this is why, I mean, listen, I'll tell you, there are 2 wide receivers out there right now. And I'm tracking ownership percentages over at fantasyalarm.com because we have projections for that, because Michael Wilson from Arizona, he's a very, very popular waiver ad for everybody. I mean, he had a 2-touchdown game, and you look at this Arizona matchup this week, and it's a really nice matchup for Joshua Dobbs. I've even got the possibility of some Arizona stacking, which, is normally suicidal, but this Cincinnati defense is no good. So But Michael Wilson, he's 3,600, 3,700 on DraftKings. So he's a huge bargain. And then everybody's starting to turn around and understand that Rashee Rice in Kansas City is the way to go. He's like 3,400. He's seen a steady increase in snaps. He's also seen an increase in his target share over the last 2 weeks. And 2 weeks ago, that dude got stopped at the one, not once, but twice. So if Wilson at 3,700, Rice at 3,400, you find one other like, mid-range pay down, like 53, 5,100, and then you're able to get in Mahomes and Kelce, right? Stack up those Chiefs. You could probably throw like Jordan Addison coming back for that. So I think that's going to be, a little bit on the chalky side. And I think because Travis Kelce's pricing right now is very much in relation to Taylor Swift's song. There's a FanDuel pricing on Travis Kelce. I think it's like 87.89 or something like that. I think that somewhere in there's a Taylor Swift reference that's popping up there. And I think everybody wants to know, listen, Taylor Swift, the fact that you and I just mentioned Taylor Swift right here on the show means we can hashtag it and put that into YouTube, so that anytime somebody searches Taylor Swift, they're getting us now. Ta-da!
It's magic. So let me ask you this one. You got Christian McCaffrey, who had a monster game last week. I just read a lineup. You put in over 51 points, okay, on DFS. Now you've got Christian McCaffrey facing the Dallas Cowboys. Christian McCaffrey is 9,400. Now, last week, we all went cheap on quarterback, and you're talking about this week's going to be more of a pay up. So paying up at quarterback, you did give two great price players, but it's going to be pretty hard to fit in Christian McCaffrey for 9,400 and get in anybody else who's valuable. What do we do, Howard? What do we do?
Yeah, listen, I don't love this matchup for him. I know that you can run on Dallas, but I just don't love this matchup because that Dan Quinn, who spent all of that time with the Atlanta Falcons, knows exactly what he's up against, with regard to Christian McCaffrey. He spent all that time in Carolina and then, he's over in San Francisco. The one thing I will say, for the slate of our contest, we're doing Sunday through Monday, where McCaffrey's in play. On the main slate contest, there's no McCaffrey in play, which makes it a lot easier for you in order to do it. Because if you went up to McCaffrey, you would have to, you obviously would do McCaffrey instead of Bijan Robinson. But, maybe you pay down to Achane at 6,100, but that's probably one of the lowest. Actually, you know what? You go Breece Hall against Denver. That's not bad.
Yeah, especially because we got the announcement today that we're no longer holding back Breece Hall. So this would be like, the gates have just opened. Okay. It's like
release the Kraken.
Like you're running into the state fair. There's going to be corn dogs and
funnel
really
cakes.
buttery. And funnel cake. And you ever have the fried corn on the cob where they like batter it and dip it in the frying thing? Oh.
Lisa Ann, look at me. Do you think that I would ever I haven't been to like every state fair, every county fair, where I can load up on fair food, music festivals? Like, you give me like all sorts of like weird creations and I'm all in for it. Did I ever tell you the story about the ice cream sandwich that had two giant glazed donuts instead of like the little, like, yeah, see, exactly. There's a picture of me eating it and I'm crying. It's so delicious.
Great story, compelling and rich.
By the way, Underdog Fantasy offers new contests and chances to win every day. Play Pick'em by choosing higher or lower on 2 to 5 of your favorite players' stats. Choose from MLB, NFL, PGA, and more. All you need to do is sign up at fantasyalarm.com/underdog with promo code ALARM. First time depositors get 100% match up to $100. Ray just walked in the room and said, "Hey guys, what's up, Ray?" Scott just walked in the room and said, "Hi folks, late to the party. Took a trip to Atlantic City." Scott, you went to Atlantic City on a weekday. I like this. Okay. That's a rally. Wednesday afternoon.
That's grimy.
That is a rally. Congratulations to you. I love all of it. All right, let's talk about your Jets for a second. Loved the game last week. I loved what I saw. I loved the players rallying around him. I love that we're getting away from this, but there were a couple broadcasters that still went absolutely ham about Zach Wilson.
Dude, Rodney Harrison, what was that? Like,
Chris
kudos
Jones was uncomfortable. He was uncomfortable during that post-game interview.
And kudos to Chris Jones for not taking the bait and just being a true gentleman about it. That was garbage, man. Rodney, I used to love Rodney. Now go
Isn't
spit,
it funny?
dude.
I feel the same. Isn't it funny how somebody you can watch a broadcaster forever, but then there's something that takes a turn and you're like, wow, we don't align anymore. I've got to find somebody else. Like, I didn't love that either. We can't keep knocking this kid, but I love that his teammates really rallied around. Love that your dream came true. Aaron Rodgers was there because that was something you had talked about. I want him in the building. How do you feel the Jets will do going out to Denver? Altitude, yes. Do you have high hopes for this game to be another good game for Zach Wilson? I'm not even mad about that fumble at the end of the game because all quarterbacks have fumbled. We've seen everybody do it.
Listen, I agree. I agree. I think that it's that we're in a very, I think on paper, this is a great matchup. And really, you could unleash Zach Wilson, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. I mean, this is really, Patrick Surtain is rock solid, but Denver's just have so many problems with their team. For me, again, the problem is Nathaniel Hackett. And if we make this game about a revenge game narrative for Nathaniel Hackett, because Sean Payton obviously crapped on him, in the media. And so that's, what everybody's focus is on now, is that it's Nathaniel Hackett going back into Denver. I can't have that be the narrative for the Jets to be successful. I need the narrative to be, we're building off of Zach Wilson's momentum and Aaron Rodgers is going to be in the booth helping coach him along. Like, that's what I want to see. What I will see, again, I haven't read you my obituary for Hope of New York Jets fans. If you'd like, I can do that, because I think that we could have some issues this week if
I would
if
love the obits. Okay. I would love the obits. Please read it to us. But I think you're on point. Britt Flynn, we have a celebrity sighting in here. I'd like everyone to stand up out of their chairs and give an ovation for our friend Britt Flynn, stopping by, Fantasy Alarm contributor, amazing content creator, brilliant as you are, standing ovation. Give us your obits, because then I have a game from week 4 that I want to talk to you about, a revelation that I had as I was watching the game.
All right. Now this, mind you, you've seen the movie Serendipity, have you not?
I sure have.
Okay, so this was inspired by watching some Serendipity last night as I was trying to pass out and fall asleep at 2 a.m. So Jeremy Piven's character writes John Cusack's character's obituary as his best man speech. So, and he said, the Greeks didn't write obituaries. They only asked one question after a man died: did he have passion? And that made me think about Jets fans and the passion that we have for why we've stayed with our team for so long. So here you go. I wrote the obituary for the hope of New York Jets fans. The hope of New York Jets fans, an unwavering belief of people too stupid to root for another NFL team, died Sunday from complications of losing its quarterback, its confidence, and another game, this time at the hands of the Denver Broncos. The hope of the New York Jets fans was 93 years old, because 1969 is when they won the Super Bowl. Outspoken and obsessive, the hope of New York Jets fans never looked the part of a hopeless romantic, but in the final days of its existence, this hope revealed an unknown side of its psyche. This hidden quasi-Jungian persona surfaced during a Count of Monte Cristo-like pursuit of revenge for its offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, a man whom this hope had only spent a few precious weeks with. Sadly, the protracted search ended Sunday in complete and utter failure. Yet even in certain defeat, the courageous hope of New York Jets fans everywhere secretly clung to the belief that victory was not merely a series of passing plays by Zach Wilson or rushing attempts by Breece Hall. but rather it's a tapestry of events supposedly created by an offensive coordinator and coach, neither of whom were able to deliver. Even the rumors of an Aaron Rodgers return during the 2023 season were not able to resuscitate the hope. Asked about the loss of his dear friend, Howard Bender, esteemed broadcaster for SiriusXM and executive director of Fantasy Alarm Worldwide, described this hope of the New York Jets fan as a changed man in the last days of his life. Things were clearer for him at the end, Bender noted. Ultimately, the hope of New York Jets fans concluded that, well, if we are to live life in harmony with the universe, we must all possess a powerful faith in what the ancients used to call fatum, which we currently refer to as destiny. And that destiny for all Jets fans being despondence, woefulness, and just the right amount of suffering.
Passionate, yeah.
That was moving and beautiful. And your writing is elegant and articulate. And I felt your pain through there. And it just took me back to that episode of Curb where why does he wake up in the middle of the night and scream, Watson? Is he a Sherlock Holmes fan? No, it's because they passed on Deshaun Watson in the draft.
Larry David's tirades about the Jets are nothing short of brilliant. Nothing short of brilliant.
And you know what I didn't realize until I was realizing that baseball is still happening is that no New York teams are doing well at anything right now because the Mets and the Yankees are done.
Let's go Rangers.
Okay.
Go New York, go New York, go. Knicks, come on.
Oh, Lori loved that. So, love that and the movie. Thanks, Howard. That was a great obituary. I loved it. My fingers are crossed, but I get it. And I understand everything you're saying. The talent is there. They're not affected by injuries like other teams are. I understand that they have a rookie quarterback, but a lot of other teams have had quarterbacks that have been shaky at best or starting out or having to get their growing pains, right? We've seen Justin Fields play really well at the end of the season last year and not play really well at the beginning of the season till last week. So I'm hopeful for the Jets. I really, really am. Oh, Lori is Mama Burns, my mom. I was listening to Kendall Valenzuela the other day, and she said hi to her mom because her mom listens to every show. And Howard, only you and I could relate to the fact that we don't, our parents, we don't do that. So I think oh, wow, your mom, Lori, thank you for being a mom that listens because neither Howard nor I's parents would ever listen. Back to me. As I'm sitting and watching.
That escalated quickly.
As I'm sitting and watching this one game last week, it hit me. One of those moments where you actually speak out loud to your television. Houston is so much better than I thought they would be. And Pittsburgh is so much worse than they thought I would be. And I benched Najee Harris in a bunch of leagues last week.
Oof. I mean, who'd you bench him for?
It's too many for me to recall.
Oh, it's that bad. Okay, yeah, that was a tough one. I mean, it was kind of lined up for Najee to at least do well. That's why I'm so big on Bijan Robinson this week playing Houston. So, listen, it happens. I think it was it last week that I left David Montgomery on my bench in 2 leagues.
I'm so sorry. And you had to live with that. That was a Thursday night game. I said that with pure empathy because you get to be mad at yourself for so many extra days, right? If you leave someone on your bench on a Sunday or a Monday, you're moving on to the waiver wire. You forgive yourself in 48 hours. But when you do it on a Thursday, I did it week 2 with DeAndre Swift.
Yeah.
And it ruined my Friday. It ruined my Saturday. It was emotional distress.
And every time you go to your live scoring on Sunday and you're looking at it, you see the 37.5 points just sitting on your bench. Thanks, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Appreciate you. But let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. What's it going to take? Now you've got a quarterback that you're pushing out there, even with a pretty severe knee bruise, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is concerning, and I'm not used to seeing this game. I mean, 6 points is all you put up. Texans are looking good. CJ Stroud is the rookie that's really, really surprising me. I mean, I drafted some shares of Anthony Richardson. played him the week he got injured, didn't play him the week he came back. You know how that works. But I only drafted him as my backup quarterback. It's a backup situation, and it was over another quarterback injury. So, but in Pittsburgh, this is not the norm. I thought their defense would be a lot better, and their defense let up 30 some points last week. I drafted Pittsburgh's defense in so many best ball leagues just because, what do you say for the Pittsburgh Steelers? What's it going to take for them to get their season back together?
I don't know. It's like you fall for like the TJ Watt hype, right? You think, all right, this defense is just going to be fierce, and they'll come up. I mean, it's really kind of funny. John and Pemba and I kind of did like a little study of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense over the last couple of seasons. They play significantly better at home than they do on the road, and so we've kind of been off the Steelers D when they've been on the road. So. I mean, yeah, listen, I think that it's a tough situation. That's why I'm kind of all in on Baltimore this week, right? I mean, you've got Lamar Jackson, Odell Beckham was back at practice today. Rashad Bateman was back at practice today. So, I mean, I think that we're going to see the Ravens just kind of beat up the Steelers. I don't really know what the Steelers can do with this one here. You still don't have Deontay Johnson. Kenny Pickett's not healthy. Najee Harris isn't running well. Your offensive line isn't delivering like it should. I don't know how you feel comfortable using any Pittsburgh Steeler at this point right now, right? I mean, even George Pickens concerns me.
I mean, Freiermuth had his big week and might have had a bigger week last weekend had Kenny Pickett not gotten injured, right? Because Freiermuth did have his big week in week 3. But yeah, this is just not normal football. Like Pittsburgh Steelers are always competitive. We have someone in the room. We have a 10-man PPR. Someone offered Madison and DJ Moore for Connor. Should I do it?
DJ Moore for Connor.
My team is Mahomes, McCaffrey, Connor, Waddle, McLaurin, Hunter Henry, Pickens, bench, Christian Watson, Javonte Williams, and Gabe Davis. And Gabe Davis is starting to have some consistency. We've got to start taking him off our bench. But what do you do here? He's giving up Madison and DJ Moore for Connor.
Yeah, I think the problem here is that Javonte is banged up. I don't know what we can do as far as trusting him. And I definitely do not want to go from Connor to Madison. You're talking about Cam Akers took a certain number of snaps. We know that we expect to see him take more away. Madison with the fumbles and the drop passes. It's really, I mean, yeah, he had a great week last week where he rushed for 80 yards, but that was much more an indictment on how bad Carolina's run defense was than that Madison was an actual talent there. So I much prefer to stay with James Conner. I don't think, I mean, you're looking for your second wide receiver here, your third wide receiver, Waddle McLaurin. I'm perfectly happy going with Waddle McLaurin. You'll be able to move Christian Watson or Gabe Davis into your flex. I don't think you need DJ Moore here. So,
and
I
mean,
no.
Connor's had a pretty good season, already at 318 yards with 2 touchdowns. I'm looking at Connor as some consistency there. I feel good about it. I say no on this one too. Ghost says, I dropped Achane for Stafford since Burrow was struggling before week 3 and he exploded. Glad I had first waiver priority. So hopefully he was able to get him back.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you got the first waiver priority, that is definitely the must. Yeah, I mean, listen, we've all done stuff like that. I mean, you draft Achane, based on his upside, and then for the first 3 weeks of the season, you see, or 2 weeks of the season, you see Mostert, getting all the touches. They're not using Achane at all, or they're using him very minimally. And so you had no idea that he was going to suddenly against Denver that, he and Mostert were going to, rush for, 4 touchdowns each. But then when you saw last week, when you saw him out snap and out touch Raheem Mostert, then, you got to perk up a little bit more on that.
But you're making moves because you feel you need to, and it's better to be active in your league than not active at all. And luckily you were able to pull it all together. Tomorrow night's game. We know that we have 2 teams left in the NFL that haven't won yet. Will that change tomorrow night? Because the Chicago Bears is one of them.
No, I think Washington wins this game. I don't necessarily know if Washington covers the 6.5 point spread, but I still ultimately think Washington wins this game. I'll tell you, Chicago's defense is terrible. They've got a really good, so I don't worry about Sam Howell, Brian Robinson, Terry. I don't worry about those guys at all. What I worry about is Chicago's offense matching up against the defense of Washington. I think the pass rush is for real, and that's going to chase Fields out of the pockets. Why we like the higher on his, his rushing yard props for Justin Fields. But, can this defense clamp down on them enough? Yeah, I do think they can clamp down on the Bears enough to the point where Washington at least wins this game. Do they do it by more than a touchdown? No, I don't think they do.
So the Bears step into week 6 defeated. Not undefeated, defeated. We've got another trade question here. Ethan, thank you so much for bringing us your trade question here. Trade question. I drafted heavy wide receivers and I lost Chubb and I need running back help badly. It is a 16-team standard league. Ethan, you're a strong man being in a 16-team league. I want to tell you, I admire you. I don't have the guts. My 16-team standard scoring, I got offered Gainwell for Pittman. My other wide receivers are Amari Cooper, Puka, McLaurin, and Judy.
Yeah, I can't do this deal. I get it. You feel like Pittman's could be your number 4 or 5 receiver in this, but number 1, you've got Cooper on a bye week. Number 2, you've got Cooper Kupp possibly coming back, and that could limit the targets for Puka Nacua. And so then you're sitting on McLaurin and Jerry Jeudy, and it's clear that Jerry Jeudy is the number 2 target in this offensive scheme, not the number 1. Cortland Sutton's leading that team in targets. Gainwell is sitting behind DeAndre Swift. I mean, I can't imagine that, Gainwell is really going to be that productive enough for you that you would want to get rid of Pittman, who, like I said earlier in this show, I think that if Jonathan Taylor comes back, I mean, Taylor, Pittman, Anthony Richardson is just a great trio for offensive production for the Colts. So I say no to this deal.
We say no to this deal. Now, I had an activity for you when we took our last break. That activity was to go to claim your spot in DFS, the DraftKings Challenge. That's on my timeline at The Real Lisa Ann. Your activity for this break is, if you haven't already, to go sign up for your free 7-day trial at Fantasy Alarm. Yeah. Go to fantasyalarm.com/win. Howard and I will be back. You're listening to Lisa Ann Does Fantasy Bettor on the Bettor Network and Fantasy Alarm.
Oh boy, we got a big one. We got a big card here.
Baby, let's go.
We got a super rookie.
Ooh.
Do you guys want to guess who the big card super rookie is? Because
I'm going to guess somebody from the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't recall who were rookies in those particular years. So I'm going to guess Michael Irvin.
Adam?
Jared kind of convinced me to go Troy Aikman there.
I'm going to read the description. In this player's NFL debut, September 10th, 1989, he produced an electrifying 68-yard punt return for a touchdown.
Sanders.
He became the first athlete in the 20th century to hit a home run, September 5th, 1989, for the Yankees at Seattle, and score a touchdown in the same week.
That needs a sleeve. That one needs a sleeve.
Top
100%.
super rookie, neon, prime time, Deion Sanders.
I wasn't that far off. He played for the Cowboys.
I was going to say Deion, and then when you said the early 90s Cowboys, I'm like, Aikman would be a good guess. So I go with your gut is the lesson there.
And there it is, the white and red Falcon jerseys that you said Deion came in with before they changed to black.
That was because the starting lineup for Deion his rookie year has got the red helmet with the white jersey.
Now look at that mean, are you kidding me with that hair?
I mean, you got to have a headband with those curls. You got to.
That is sick. And this is a favorite card. Do we have any value on this card? We have to, right?
Let me see.
Give me a value here.
Let's see here on eBay. PSA 10 gem mint Deion Sanders, $149.99. And then a 9.5 is $6. So that guy might be a little bit then there's a much more reasonably listed one at $31 for a PSA 10. So it's got some value to it. Yeah, you might want to protect that one.
It's in excellent condition. I guess we have to worry about, is it centered?
Yes, that would be the next thing.
All right, well, we'll go through the process there. Maybe I'll just frame that one as a great moment in this show's history.
We are back right here. Lisa Ann and Howard Benner getting ready to talk some point spreads. This is going to be a big week. We see some here. I know all of you did what you were supposed to do. You signed up for Fantasy Alarm on the last break. The break before that, you signed up for the DFS challenge at DraftKings. And we haven't heard yet where Matty Deutsch finished. So Better Boss has not let us know that he was in the top 10. So I have a hunch that maybe he wasn't.
I got a hunch that he wasn't either.
Okay.
I got a hunch.
I got a hunch. So let's talk about it.
I finished, by the way. Which one was this? Oh, yeah. All right. So I was 57th overall.
Loser. Where were you, Brian Burns? Because that's pretty good. That's almost the top 25%. Oh, Better Boss.
Yeah, where were you, Brian Burns? I want to know. Because your mom's watching now, and so if you're gonna come at me, bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
And crickets.
I do not like this Brian Burns character.
I do. I thought his sound.
I love and respect Brian Burns, and he's got to do what he's got to do.
I just love that he has that clip. It makes me so happy. It's incredibly silly, but okay, we've got a couple. By the way, the Orioles are going all the way, Go says, so I'm going to go with that since I've been following baseball. And your mom wants to know, Brian Burns. She wants to know where you finished the DK challenge. She's in the chat. She says, I want to know. So maybe you don't answer to Howard and I, but you're going to answer me. All right, let's look at some NFL spreads and totals. You had mentioned earlier that you weren't comfortable with the -6.5 over the Bears for the Commanders tomorrow night.
Correct. I am not comfortable with that. I will. My lean is the Bears plus 6.5. That's my lean. I'm not making that pick yet, though.
Bills -5.5 over the Jags.
My lean right now, I was on the Better Sports Betting Show with Dan Servadidio earlier, and we kind of talked about this. The Jaguars have stayed in London, so they're just, there's no travel for them. And, what's up, and so the Bills, I mean, obviously, it's a great team, great defense, great offense. They've got to head over there. So I was kind of leaning on, the Jags plus the points, but, this Jim Bowden brought up a great point here about it and saying that, being there in London for 2 weeks, if your family is at home, then you're worried about what your family's doing, what's going on with them over there. If you brought your family with you because you were going to be over here for 2 weeks, when you're at practice, you want to know what they're doing, but you're also you're going to do some sightseeing with them during your downtime. So you're completely out of your routine and you've probably been socializing. Maybe you've taken in a pub or two that you don't normally take, I mean, whatever the case may be. So, he's kind of got me. I'm thinking more leaning towards the Bills and just, dropping the points there. Can they beat the Jags by a touchdown? I think they can.
I'm going to ask a question for a friend. Looking at Gabe Davis right now, who's got 12 receptions, 220 yards, and 30 touchdowns, still fearing to play him, this friend. At what point does this friend truly believe that Gabe Davis could be more than a bye week filler because he's just not consistent? And this is for a friend.
Well, I think you should tell your friend that, drafting a guy like Gabe Davis, you had to expect that there was going to be some boom or bust. You like seeing the consistency because here's the thing. The Bills didn't do anything to improve the offensive weapons around, they've got Stephon Diggs still, and it's Gabe Davis still. And they, Khalil Shakir is still there. And they brought in Dalton Kincaid, but they're not even really using Dalton Kincaid all that much. So I do think that for bye weeks right now, you can get away with a little Gabe Davis. But, I mean, I still think that he's more of a matchup-based play as the season goes on.
The only reason I'm holding him is for bye weeks. I'm happy to see a player that's putting up some points that eventually I'm going to have to use.
You mean your
friend?
Your friend.
My friend,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm just checking. Just making sure, because I knew this wasn't about you. That this was about your friend.
Okay, I'm going to debate Jim Bowden's points It is possible. All of these variables play a different role. They're not used to being away for 2 weeks. I get that. NFL players are used to touching base with home, what have you. The sightseeing, this is like a home team for the Jags. I think they're over. You can only stare at Big Ben so many times, right? I guess maybe they're going out, but I'm sure. I think that this could really flip the script. Josh Allen's been playing really well. I think this could be an upset, and I think the Jags could win this one.
I mean, that was my original lean right there. So I'm perfectly fine siding with you 100%. I will back you on that. Yes, because you're hitting me with my original narrative anyway. I shouldn't let somebody else sway my opinion. I thank you, Lisa Ann.
Look, this isn't as bad of a trip as it is for West Coast teams. It makes a huge difference. It's 5 hours less. That's a huge difference when it comes to how long you're stuck on a plane, unless you're Russell Wilson and you do calisthenics in the aisle. Remember we saw him doing that last year? That was
Yes.
that was so great. We got the Lions -9 over the no-win Carolina Panthers. How do you feel about this one?
How do I feel about the no-win Carolina Panthers? It's a tough one for me because I like their defense. I really, really do like their defense. The thing about it is like you can run on Carolina. You can't really pass against Carolina. That's the whole thing. That's why I was on Fantasy Alarm and then on the Sunday show also, where I said that the Panthers were my pick last week to upset or at least cover the spread against the Minnesota Vikings. And I was 100% accurate with the way everything went. It turned on me when Bryce Young fumbled the ball in the second half. Minnesota defense recovered it for a touchdown. And then, like they put the icing on the cake, which was a Justin Jefferson touchdown, which helped them cover the spread. But I mean, that's the Minnesota passing game. Detroit, they're going to stick to the run. And so I think you're going to see a big game out of David Montgomery. You will see some passing, but when you've got a team that's just running the football as much as we could see Detroit running this football, it tends to keep the score down. And when the score stays down, then I start to look at if it's a big spread like this, I kind of feel like I'm going to take the Panthers plus the points. 9.5 is a lot. That's a lot for me.
So with this being more of a focused run game, what would you do with your shares of Sam Laporta? Would you recommend if someone doesn't have another tight end to still play Sam Laporta?
I play Sam Laporta every single week. You don't take him out of unless you've got Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews. I mean, and even Andrews, who, mind you, here you go. Fun fact for you here, Lisa Ann. Mark Andrews has never caught a touchdown pass against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, your dogs are getting crazy.
My dogs they're all worked up right now. They're all crazy riled
I hear
up
the
here.
doggies and they're trying to get on our show and I love it. They want to chat with us. You know what? They agree with you.
That Sam Laporta is a must start no matter what. Every week. I don't even look at the matchups. Like it doesn't matter to me because the tight end position is such a desolate wasteland.
It is.
That if you get a guy who's getting a target share like Sam Laporta is getting, and you watch him develop with Jared Goff, I don't care if it's a bad matchup for him. I'll still put Sam Laporta in there. Who else are you going to put in? Who are you going to throw in there? Who are you going to put in? Come on. Freiermuth?
Tyler Higbee?
Cole
Kmet? Okay, let's talk about Tucker. We've got a question here, Howard. And I do love when people use emojis in the chat. Just does it for me. The emojis are an alert. This is an important question. So that's why I stopped everything because there's 4 alerts. We need to pick 2. Pittman, Christian Watson, or Drake London.
I got to pick 2. Well, I mean, I'm going to go with Pittman and I'm going to go with Christian Watson. As long as Christian Watson, listen, he was on a limited snap count. And that's fine last week, but now he's back. He's good to go. He's been at practice. Everything seems like wheels up for Christian Watson. I can't side yet with Drake London, even though he's the number 1 receiving target in this offense. This offense has been a hot mess. in scoring. Like they've put 13 points up on the board in the last 2 games. So as much as I like Drake London, I still need to see more develop from this Atlanta offense. So Pittman Watson for me.
Thank you for the question, Tucker. We appreciate you. Let's talk about that. Falcons -1 over the Texans.
It moved to 2 also, the spread. I saw that like earlier today. I feel like, I mean, this is one of those games where, you know, when you're looking at a point spread like that, it's just a matter of who you think wins this game. Like, do you think the Falcons are going to beat the Texans? And I feel like I think everybody is so into CJ Stroud and what he's been doing. And Nico Collins has been, you know, his main guy and whatever. I still I'm going to put the faith in the Falcons. I think everybody's going to be in on the Texans. And so I'm going to take the Falcons. I didn't like that it went up to Falcons -2, but that's definitely working in my narrative's favor that I think the Falcons win this game over the Texans. Their defense, I tell you, man, I mean, AJ Terrell at corner, Jesse Bates at safety. On the other side, you've got Jeffrey Okudah. So, I mean, this secondary, what the Falcons did for their defense in the offseason, I mean, it was all free agency and then that trade with Detroit for Okudah. And it's really transformed their defense into this, you know, fantastic unit that I think is just a little bit more on the underrated side. So I think once their offense gets going, I think we're going to see a little bit more work out of these Falcons. So I'm going to say the Falcons -2 points over the Texans right now.
And this is a game I really want to watch. Like, these are 2 teams I didn't have the highest expectations for. Now, luckily, I do a little work with Sports Radio 610 in Houston. So early on, I was getting tips of like, hey, draft Nico Collins as a flyer late in your drafts, which I did. You know, I had the same hot tip last season on Dameon Pierce. But there's low expectations for 2 teams where I'm like, okay, I really want to watch this game. Like, I really want to see how it could be a high scoring game. Falcons could win it, but it could be a high scoring game. And it's going to be a challenge now to see how CJ Stroud looks, but he does look good for the rookies that we've seen out there. And then you've got a player like Zach Wilson who has a little bit more experience. It's kind of like crazy to see a rookie go in there and play so well.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy to see a rookie play so well. But I mean, listen, I think, you know, we're seeing a good amount. I think it's crazy to see a running back rookie playing so well. I think that's
we saw it for a minute last year with Dameon Pierce. I mean, it wasn't a Bijan Robinson situation, but it was still a really lucrative situation until he got injured. Remember that run?
I do remember. Well, that was the funny thing. And I think that's one of the problems that we have with Houston right now, with Dameon Pierce specifically, because he's not a very good pass blocker. So that's why you see Devin Singletary on the field a lot in the second half. But more importantly, it didn't matter what the game script was. Lovie Smith was like, run the ball, just run the football. Run it. And like, remember when Dameon Pierce broke like that? It was like an 80-yard touchdown run when they were like down. They were down by like 27 points at that point. And so you're like, what the hell are they calling a run play for? And Dameon Pierce kind of takes off. Like, you're not getting that kind of volume this year.
That's a fact. We've got another question in here. Sit 1 from our friend Rob. It's a PPR. He's got Drake London, Cortland Sutton, Robert Woods, and Michael Wilson. He needs you to say 1.
You know, this pains me to say this. This hurts me like nobody's business. But I'm sitting.
I guess I knew it.
Yeah.
And though we've both been advocates of Cortland Sutton all season, we both loved him. We both heavily drafted him. Against the Jets, this is not where you want to be playing him. And so for me, it's the same. You see the value with Michael Wilson in DFS. You see the upside with Michael Wilson for this matchup, but this is a matchup situation. And since Cortland Sutton has been getting so much action from Russell Wilson, I think Cortland Sutton's going to be heavily covered.
Well, it's just he's going to be lined up against Sauce Gardner most of the time, and then there's DJ Reed on the other side of the field. The only way they're really going to get Cortland Sutton out of, into lesser coverage is to do it by putting him in the slot. But where's Jerry Jeudy going to play? Jerry Jeudy thrives better in the slot anyway. So it's going to be a tough week for Cortland Sutton.
By the way, did you know that Sauce Gardner actually has a sauce?
Does he?
Yeah. Oh, this is great.
Is it like
Okay,
a red sauce, an Alfredo sauce? What is it, like a ranch?
No, it's a sauce. He teamed up with Buffalo Wild Wings and created his own flavor. And it's a Buffalo Wild Wings flavor now, inspired by Sauce Gardner. And here's a photo of him with it. He teamed up because he says everything is better with sauce.
Everything is better with sauce. I agree with that statement there. I'm on the Google machine right now, and I'm looking at it. So you could go to a Buffalo Wild Wings and just say, I want Sauce Gardner wings.
Yeah, you can, baby. You sure can.
I dig that. I dig that. It's
That's
about time.
clever.
Like the Jets never have fun stuff like that. Never.
And you know what? This is not getting enough talk. That's why I thought I'd bring it up with you tonight. There's so many people that don't know. Anytime somebody brings up Sauce Gardner, I'm like, have you tried his sauce? And they're like, oh, they think I'm joking. I'm like, no, it's a thing. He's actually got a sauce. So now everyone out there can hop into a Buffalo Wild Wings and try that out.
Sauce. That's what it's called. It's called sauce.
It's called sauce. Yeah. And his pendant, his charm also says sauce and many diamonds. So let's talk about Deb's team. Oh, wait. It says there's a school of thought, right? Because Brian Burns is in the chat as our producer. He probably has something really important to say, Howard. There's a school of thought that says there are only so many types of food to accommodate all the different types of sauces.
There are only so many types of food to accommodate all the different types of sauces. That is
profound.
That's deep. It's very profound.
Was it on a fortune cookie, Brian? Was that like a 2-page fortune? It's very profound. Thank you.
He's really pushing for mom's approval tonight. I think that's really what it comes down to. I think the fact that he was, dogging me like that publicly got her a little upset. And now all of a sudden, now he's like trying to be like, the mama's boy.
How dare you?
How dare me?
He also did want us to know he's a big sauce guy. Big sauce guy. We got another question.
Sure you are, Brian. Whatever.
From Troy, it says PPR flex. Who would you pick? Hopkins, Pickens, Addison, or Harris? And I'm going to assume that he only needs one.
Hopkins,
Pickens, Addison, or Harris?
Addison or Harris like Najee?
I was going to say, is it Najee? Because I was thinking the same thing too. Let us know which Harris this is.
I think I would just go with Jordan Addison. This game against Kansas City is supposed to be a little bit of a track meet. We know that. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that if L'Jarius Sneed is going to focus on Justin Jefferson, I think it kind of opens things up for Addison and even KJ Osborne. So I would probably just go with Addison in this matchup.
Well, you just brought up KC, and let's talk about the highest game totals on the board. It is not shocking that KC is on the top of the list, that they've stayed in these high scoring games for the past couple of seasons. KC at Minnesota, the total is 53 right now.
Let's go higher. Come on. Why not? Like the Wild Wild West. It's Yosemite Sam coming out into the saloon again. Bam, 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 bam. Let's bring it. You got Mahomes. We've got Travis Kelce with the Swifties on his side. Rashee Rice is taking another step forward. Isaiah Pacheco looked so good last week against the Jets. So good. Now he's got Minnesota's crap run defense there. I love the Chiefs for that. And then for the same token, just coming back, Kirk Cousins is just going to be slinging the rock. He's got Jefferson. He's got Hawkinson. He's got Addison. He's got Osborne. I mean, to me, there's just too much firepower and not enough defense.
On both sides of the ball.
On both sides of the ball.
Agreed. The highest scoring game. Next one is Philadelphia at the Los Angeles Rams. The total points on this one is 50.5.
Lisa Ann, let me paint a picture for you. Close your eyes for a moment and think remember the old days of the greatest show on turf? You had Marshall Faulk and Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt. No, close them. Come on. Now picture this. Kyron Williams working out of the backfield. Yum. Puka Nakua the latest, greatest sensation. That dude just is a monster. Tutu Atwell. Have you seen the speed? Have you seen the hands? And now Lisa Ann just weave into all of that deliciousness. Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp. What is that? What does that feel like from a fantasy perspective? Does that just scream start Stafford?
So happy for all the shares of Stafford that I have, especially in a matchup like this, and especially if Cooper Kupp is back. Yes, it does scream tons of production for Matthew Stafford. And the later rounds of your draft, Howard, it's like so great to just be continuously paying attention. Having Kyron Williams, like I had him on a team, he was on the bench. So by the time he comes the hot thing, you have him. And it was great because that's also the same league where I had Jonathan Taylor. And so I had drafted early. That was the Queen's Classic. So now I don't have Jonathan Taylor. Okay, I didn't know that Kyron Williams would be what he was, but I also didn't throw him back, right? I waited it out a week or two, been playing him every week. Then I get Alvin Kamara back and it's working out. Now I have a trade piece. If I decide I'm going to give JT a couple of weeks and see how he looks before I make moves, I'm going to get through the depths of these really deep bye weeks. But it's good to know that when you feel like you're falling apart in one room, whether it's your wide receiver room or your running back room, and then things start to shift out like, oh, that 4 weeks is over. Okay, this 3-week suspension is over. Oh, this rookie's on a come up. And it just so happened I drafted with the 20th pick of the draft.
Which was so good, right? I mean, he was on everybody's bench for the week 1-2 touchdown performance. And then you threw him in there and he scored a touchdown in week 2. A little disappointing there in week 3, but it's not like, you don't throw him back. So you're right. I mean, listen, this is a tough week for Kyron Williams. And, Philadelphia, they allow 63 rushing yards per game, which is the fewest or the second fewest. They also happen to rank 4th in DVOA against running back pass plays. So this week isn't really setting up nicely for Kyron Williams, but you figure that he's going to be utilized a little bit more as a pass catcher than a runner this week, just because, if Cooper Kupp's not back, actually. Like if Kupp's not back this week, then you'll see Kyron Williams probably like lined up in the slot or, they'll maybe just move him out wide. But yeah, I think that, listen, if you grabbed Kyron Williams late in your draft, you are so smart.
It's just, listening to beat reporters and different people talk and gathering data. And sometimes we're right. And sometimes we're very wrong. That happens too. But the kid's already got 5 touchdowns and 245 yards. Better Boss says, I never would have thought the Rams would be this exciting and this good. Matthew Stafford has just brought something different. We saw it last year and he got injured. And then he came out this year before the season started, said he felt his best ever. He's now the oldest quarterback in the league since Aaron Rodgers got injured. He's the oldest active playing quarterback in the league. And he really has been able to spread the wealth on that offense. We've got a question in here and we've got 2 minutes. Brian Burns usually gives me a 3. I like my timer to beep. So the question is 10-man PPR. Someone offered me Madison and DJ Moore.
No, we got that one already.
We got that one. Okay, wait. I do it. Okay. My team, Mahomes, Connor, bench, Christian Watson, Javonte Williams gave it. Okay, yeah, we did get that one already. That's his bench. He just sent it in a different way. 90 seconds. Okay, great. I appreciate you, Brian Burns. I really, really do. Howard.
Yes.
I am going to be making sure I send all the good energy to your home. I do understand with you being a Jets fan and your wife being a Giants fan, it hasn't been an easy go at it lately. And you're also a Yankees fan.
It's been a little rough, Lisa. I'm not going to deny that. It's definitely been a little rough. Monday night was not a pleasant time for hanging out at my house. And I can't imagine that this week's going to get any better against Miami for them. So, c'est la vie.
It's been a little rough, all of you. You don't need to have a rough fantasy football season because you're going to go to fantasyalarm.com/win. You're going to take advantage of the last opportunity of the season and get a 7-day free trial, which will hook you in. We're going to see you all right back here. Same place, same time next week, 7 to 9 p.m. Please share this with your friends. Make sure you're following at RotoBuzzGuy on social media, at Fantasy Alarm, at Better Network. We've got 30 seconds. Brian Burns, we were so glad to meet your mom tonight. We're thankful that she came in the room. We appreciate her for raising you right, and you go enjoy yourself with some sauce. Thank you for all of you being in here in the chat with us tonight. We appreciate you so much. Lori is very surprised by all the gambling. We'll be back. Howard Bender, have a great week. Enjoy the games. Lisa Ann and Howard Bender right here on Lisa Ann Does Fantasy Bettor, brought to you by the Bettor Network and Fantasy Alarm.